big St. John's fan, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Now, before we move on, what I want to talk about in this region is players to watch. Who is your player you're excited to see play in this region?
I would say Harrison Barnes. Athlete, hits the clutch three-pointers. I think he's been part of the reason that North Carolina's had slow starts, but also they've been finishing pretty strong. So he's my guy to watch.
I would say Harrison Barnes as well, because I'll tell you why. I don't know many players other than the Pac-10. So, and I didn't even know Harrison Barnes. So when Burrow says Harrison Barnes, I say Harrison Barnes.
Well then, okay.
Well, I think Harrison Barnes is the most interesting player in this, as like one of the top freshman recruits. But if we're gonna change it up a little, guy a lot of people might not know, Jai Crowder on Marquette. Just raw, talented basketball player. He's only been playing basketball a couple of years, but can shoot one of the most impressive physical specimens I've ever seen. And I think he could really do a lot of damage in this tournament if he gets off.
Physical specimen as in college or just...
He has arms like LeBron James, and he is college.
I totally agree with that. Jai Crowder is an amazing shooter. He reminds me of a guy from Marquette a couple years ago, Wesley Matthews, who's now shooting for the Trailblazers. He's got a great outside shot, and if Xavier didn't have good perimeter D, I'd be really worried. But no, Jai Crowder, that's a solid selection from Matt.
I'm going Jared Sullinger. I just want to see how he'll continue to keep playing and just, what is he going to bring to the table? Is he going to get worn down, freshman, how is he going to handle the pressure? Is he going to keep, growing and dominating, or is he just going to get, worn out? And I just want to watch Scoop Jardine and see what they can do at Syracuse and see if he can, make it happen for them and get them to the Elite Eight. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think Scoop Jardine has one of the top seeds in terms of names for players in the tournament.
It's a good name.
It's a pretty good name. When I was going through all the players to watch, this region actually had the most that were really interesting. Obviously, you've got the Kentucky freshman duo of Jones and Knight. You've got Jared Sullinger, who is easily one of the top 5 Player of the Year candidates. I'd say top 3. You've got, Scoop Jardine. You got a bunch of ones. For me, the top 3 are you got Isaiah Thomas of Washington, who basically showed his huge pair of testicles in the Pac-10 tournament. His monstrous manhood when he hit.
I gotta say something about that. That celebration was a little ridiculous.
Because he fell down and
I was
on the floor.
Literally, he just won the whole world championship, and really, you won the Pac-10 championship. Big deal. Big whoop.
Well, it's kind of a miniature version of the real Isaiah Thomas.
You just said
you're the championship, you win the Pac-10 title.
You're a self-admitted Pac-10 homer, yet winning the Pac-10 championship isn't a big thing for you. No biggie. But no, the 2 by far favorites for me in terms of players to watch, I actually have as a matchup in the Sweet 16. I am going to go with Harrison Barnes just because I feel he's one of the hottest players in the nation right now. Obviously, he dropped 40 on Clemson. And the reason that I have UNC over Xavier, aside from the fact that I don't want Xavier to lose to Ohio State, which I would have to pick, is because they don't have a player I think who can match up with him. Xavier doesn't have a true small forward, and they're going to have a 6'4" guy probably guarding Harrison Barnes, and he's stunning. But for my pick for player to watch, I'm going Homer. I'm sorry. I'm going with Tu Holloway. He has multiple triple-doubles this year, and he would have a third triple-double, which would be unprecedented since Jason Kidd did it back in the mid-'90s, had we not had to pull him out of a LaSalle game 4 minutes early because we were throttling them by over 40 points. He fell one rebound short that game, and I felt he could have gotten the last 4 minutes, but when you're clubbing a team that badly, it's just bad form to keep your players in.
Quick point about Xavier. They have the next Greg Ostertag on that team, by the way.
Mr. Kenny Freeze you're referring to.
Exactly.
Kenny Freeze actually is, I would say, the Atlantic 10's most improved player this year. Last year, he was dropping balls out of bounds. He was traveling. He was doing all sorts of bad stuff that you don't want your big man doing. But they sent him to the infamous Boston big man camp that they do after their sophomore year,
Yeah.
and they come back their junior year ready to play. I've actually been very impressed with Kenny this year. Is he still kind of a big stiff? Yeah, but he's a much better big stiff than he was last year.
Can I say something about that? I was the most improved player 3 years in a row in high school. So I feel you, Freeze.
And look at you. You came out dominating the alumni game this year.
Oh, you dominated. 8 points? 2 for 3 shooting, I think?
So Holloway is my player to watch, and I just pray to God that he comes back next year, because seeing him play in some of these big games and taking big shots, I think he's NBA ready right now. That being said, I think almost everybody in this region of the players we've talked about would benefit from another year. Jared Sullinger's very good. If he stuck around, and I think he needs another year before the NBA, despite the fact he's easily a one-and-done prototype. I think he's just come a long way throughout the year, and he's got a lot more he could develop.
If he leaves this year, he'll turn into Greg Oden and do nothing. He'll be exactly like, he needs at least one more year. I would say actually 2, but you probably won't get that out of him.
I mean, we'd have to see what he does next year.
Yeah.
We'll see where his
But
development
Greg
is.
Oden's a chameleon, man.
I don't even know what that means.
You ever see that commercial with him? That was like his only...
The only endorsement he got
yeah.
before he blew out
it
his
was,
knee.
it was ESPN magazine when he first... And he's like, I'm a chameleon. I can do everything.
Well, that's better than Dikembe Mutombo, who did a Schwab commercial.
Oh, yeah.
No one understood it, so they had to just cancel the commercial. No one could understand him.
Oh, Dikembe.
Yeah, didn't he say, like, I'll diversify your portfolios?
I don't know.
My favorite Dikembe Mutombo quote is
Oh.
he allegedly
Oh, yeah.
One party.
walked into a frat party at Georgetown with his broken English and said, "Who wants Sex Mutombo?" And speaking of Georgetown, we're actually going to move into the Southwest region now. So this is another pretty stacked region. I think the top 2 regions are the 2 toughest. Who? Let's all go around again and say, who do we have coming out of the Southwest region? Beatty, you want to start?
Sure. I have Kansas. I think they're just too dominant, and they're just gonna do it. There's no way around it.
Tough team.
I have my Fighting Irish in the Final Four, even though I think Kansas is one of the best teams in the tournament. I couldn't go against the Irish, and if they get hot, there's definitely a chance that they could, because they can shoot with anyone.
No problem with going with the home team. I gotta respect that. Plus, Notre Dame could easily put in a claim for a number 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really between Kansas and Notre Dame in this one. I think it's a toss-up. USC almost beat Kansas at home.
They
in
did.
Kansas, yeah. And you know, I mean, Kansas is pretty tough, but it's one game. You never know what could happen. So I say it's either between Kansas or Notre Dame.
Okay. All right, I'll go. I'm taking Purdue. I'm taking the Purdue Boilermakers.
What an indie pick.
They got
Seriously.
Yeah.
they got Juwan
Such a
Johnson.
Ray
They got
pick.
Etuan Moore. And now Robbie Hummels out, but I
That's all they
thought
have.
Is that Mumford and Sons I hear?
Yeah.
Is that what I hear?
That's a Mumford and Son pick.
I thought they were toast last year. I made the mistake of having them go out first round because I thought they were tanking near the end of the year. And then they come in, and Chris Kramer, who's obviously no longer there, but takes them to the Sweet 16, almost takes them to the Elite 8. I am not going to doubt them again. I've been very impressed in all the games I've seen. I'm sorry, but I'm going with Purdue Boilermakers.
That is a risky thing. I think they're gonna win. They're gonna win their first two
Uh,
games. Then they're gonna fall
Sport-
hard, like rock in water.
I'm just going to get this out now so we can get all the screaming out now. Spoiler alert, Purdue's my national champion.
No! Hey!
Okay.
Hey!
I'm not betting
course.
any money.
What about the men's bracket, right?
Well, obviously, let's put it this way. Xavier women, I think, are going to get a 1 seed tomorrow. They're my national champion for women. I can pick them easily, and no one can think twice about it.
I will say Kansas. I like the brothers. I don't know Marquise. I don't know the difference between the names, but they're great. Those big guys are great. I know it's a guards tournament, but having 2 bigs like that is just huge. Although Notre Dame has a lot of guys who are quote-unquote deceptively fast if they were wide receivers. So I think Notre Dame, if they're hot, they could beat Kansas.
Maybe you could use them on your football team, Matty.
We could use a lot on our football,
Yeah.
especially on the offensive end.
All right, how about we move on to games you're interested to watch, and what is the game in this region that you are most interested in seeing?
Sticking with the my Big Ten, I am actually really interested to see the Illinois UNLV game. I have Illinois winning that game. I think they're slightly underrated, and they basically have to win that game, or else the coach is getting kicked. I mean, he's going to go
Really?
to the curve if they don't. They need to get at least one win in the tournament, I think. I think people are just really unhappy there, so I feel like it's a must-win for them.
Despite the fact
So if he doesn't win-
previously been to a national championship
And
game.
They're so unhappy there. Because they think that they should be a national championship caliber team every year, and they just have been.
Just because they had Michael Jordan's son, they have those expectations.
And also, well, they're
Exactly.
really unhappy too because the mascot is no longer there, so they don't have a dancing Indian.
Yeah,
They're very
so
upset
what are
about
they
that
gonna
as
do,
well.
You know? But I think that'll be a good game, so I'm excited to watch that one.
I have a tough time picking a game that I think is really interesting in this bracket. I know which one I least want to see. The game I least want to see in the whole tournament is Texas A&M and Florida State. If they could just,
But who cares,
Oh
right?
yeah, that's a tough.
that was the last one I picked just because neither of those teams impressed me, and they're just so bland and boring to watch when I have watched them. That game, if that game was just blacked out on TV, I'd be okay with it.
Horrible pick, Lenardi.
The game I'm going to say I'm most excited to watch, and I know that we already exited my Homer region, but I'm going to go be an A10 Homer, and I'm going to say I want to watch Vanderbilt Richmond, because I like A10 teams. I cheer for them when they're not there. I think that's a good matchup, and I think Vanderbilt is not as strong as they appear. I think Richmond is stronger than they appear, and I would not be surprised if Kevin Anderson and Justin Harper shoot Richmond Spiders into the next round.
Okay. Just a slight diversion here. So Mark and I noticed on ESPN today that the commentators kept talking about Joe Lenardi. Now, this mythical Joe Lenardi did not appear on ESPN for about an hour and a half in a row. And then they finally show Lenardi, and he's typing an email and doesn't even face the camera. So
Honestly, we didn't even know Lenardi like has a face. We thought this was just a figurehead. We literally thought that this guy was like Wizard of Oz or something. And everything he says, it goes, apparently.
Yep.
But here's the problem. He's not in the committee. So why do we even care what he has to say about it? He's like, oh, they had like a countdown, remember?
Yep,
They had a countdown of when Lenardi's brackets are going to come out. Oh, yeah? Like,
yeah, what about the real bracket?
yeah, the real bracket's coming out in 30 minutes. Why don't we have a countdown for that one? So, Lenardi, calm down. So that was his whole year. You know, now he's done.
Just so we're clear, next year when my blog is more put together, I've had a little more time to flush it up, there's going to be a countdown for when my bracket comes out.
Awesome.
Is it going to have the picks too? Like good old Purdue?
Yeah, it'll have them all coming out.
In all seriousness, my favorite game is going to be USC against Virginia Commonwealth's top booster, actually. Actually, Kevin O'Neill against the top booster.
We got a picture of Kevin O'Neill here.
Yes, I heard the Virginia Commonwealth boosters are very rowdy. And they're known to just follow Kevin O'Neill in different bars.
USC, I've said, and I said this to Mark while we were out getting Chipotle for this, they are the most hot and cold team in this tournament. If they play as good as they're capable of playing, they can beat anybody in this field, and there are only about 10 teams that they can't run out of the gym. I mean, they ran Texas out of the gym earlier this year.
And they almost beat Kansas State at. No, they almost beat Kansas.
At Kansas.
And they beat
Pretty
Tennessee.
tough.
And that wasn't, they weren't even playing their best there. It was just them playing very well and Kansas playing aight.
Yep.
At their best, they're great. However, at their worst, if they play their worst, there is no team in this bracket, including Arkansas Little Rock, that can't beat them by at least 10.
Well, what's evidence of that? The fact that they lost to Ryder by 20 points.
Ooh.
The fact that they
Oh,
shit the
man.
bed in several games this year.
Yeah, the loss to San Marino High School didn't help either.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's true. But, you know, USC doesn't even have really that many players other than Vujicic. So, I mean, he's a top NBA prospect. I don't know how to pronounce his real name, but
Yeah.
Vujicic is close enough.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So, has everyone, Maddie, have you given us your top game?
I like your point about Vanderbilt Richmond, not just because I picked Richmond, but if anyone saw the Vanderbilt highlight early in the year, their mascot delivered quite a blow to the face of one of their own fans,
Oh, I saw
breaking
that.
his nose.
That was-
So
that
this
was
bracket
weird.
definitely has the top potential for fighting with the Vanderbilt mascot and SC. But then personally, if we got a Purdue Notre Dame matchup in the Sweet 16, that'd be a big game. Two
Yep.
Indiana teams. It's a pretty big rivalry.
Where
So I would
What's
bet-
wrong with Vanderbilt's basketball court, by the way?
Oh, they have the.
It's really weird.
Oh yeah.
extra
it's like
spacing? Yeah.
elevated
It's
above the- yeah.
elevated above, and it's got extra spacing. So it's got like
Yeah.
3 feet from the, no, like probably like 5 feet from the out of bounds to the stands,
Oh.
and on top of that, like the bench is lower than the court.
Wow.
Someone, I mean, what is there normally? Is that a stage or something? What is that?
And what's their mascot there? The Commodore?
The Commodores, yeah.
Commodore. What's the Commodore?
It's
Something so.
Minnesota
Civil
has
War.
the
Yeah.
sunken
Oh, okay.
seats, like your bench, the
Oh,
Minnesota
really?
gym, the benches are below, but I don't know. It's must be just
Normal bench seats,
Yeah.
please, everybody.
Yeah. Let's.
Vanderbilt thinking they're crazy.
It just seems dangerous too. A guy comes.
Yeah.
Maybe that's probably why they
Yeah.
spaced it so far, so
Yeah.
no one goes running and falls in there. But still,
Yeah.
it seems
Definitely.
impractical.
So a question for Matt before we move on to top players to watch in this thing. Are you going to the games?
Am I-
Chicago is pretty close to South Bend, and the first 2 games they're able to be playing are in Chicago.
I will not be going to the games as I'm on spring break this week, but I know a bunch of my friends are going back. Anyone who lives around there is going to the game. So if we were in school, I would definitely be ditching school to go see us play, but I won't be back in town for anything. But if we make a Final Four appearance, Ray might have to shell out some money, the big Ray, the father, so I can go see that, because that's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. But unfortunately, I'm on spring break, so I won't be able to see the first 2 games.
If you guys made the Final Four in Houston, I'd help shell out some money if you want to go see it, because that is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I got to go see Xavier. I went and actually saw every tournament game Xavier ever played while I was there. And
Wow.
the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 my senior year is one of the highlights of my entire life down in Phoenix. I actually dropped a class because the professor wouldn't let me go to Salt Lake City to see them. So I said, political philosophy, Machiavelli's the prince, to hell with you. I'm going to drop this class and take it next semester. So,
Was it the same professor?
no, it was a different professor next
Good.
semester.
Good, because I think that would be pretty messed up.
Oh, yeah. No, I basically told him off, too. I was like, I didn't try to lie, like, oh, this is not why I'm going. I said, I got to go see Xavier's playing Gonzaga, Salt Lake City. I got to go. I will take the test beforehand. I will take it afterhand. I will take it whenever you want. And he said, no, you got to be there for the test. And I said, well, goodbye then, sir.
I mean, but what if you were sick?
This particular professor was pretty much of a hard ass. I don't know
You'd
what
have
would
to be
happen
in
if you
the-
were
you'd
sick.
have to be in like the hospital or something.
I think you'd have to have some serious doctor's note to get by it. And even then, you'd have to run it by the department head.
Wow.
It was a task for George Costanza. Short of George Costanza, impossible.